Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin. Today, for another really awesome interview for Within the Barrens segment, we have Emily Bennett and Justin Brooks joining us. As everybody may know, and hopefully you know, they are part of a movie called Alone with You. And I originally saw this Salem Horror Fest, and that was really, really cool. I think it was last year. I think that's what it was. My years get so messed up with
Totally.
Salem Horror Fest. But how have you both been?
Good, good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic. It's been a pretty wild year.
yeah, and we love Salem. We love
Yeah.
Kay. We love that festival is so much fun. And what
Yeah.
fun to have a festival in Salem. It's such an exciting
Oh,
town.
oh yeah, for sure. I attend it pretty much every year. I think I started attending Salem Horror Fest 2008.
Nice.
If I remember correctly. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey over there, and having your film, be shown on there, it must have been such a huge success for the both of you.
It was awesome.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. We
Yeah.
actually attended that one.
Yeah, we were at the first, I guess the first showing. I'm not sure if they showed it a few times, but
Yeah, we had some friends show up and we did like a little Q&A
yeah.
um after, but it was honestly because we shot Alone with You during 2020 during the lockdown in Brooklyn, basically alone, which we will get into. Um, you know, Going back to the festival circuit, to be in person to watch these films, including ours, was just such a shock to the system. We were so
Yeah.
glad to like get to attend Salem and actually be there. Like that was such a joy.
Yeah, because when they did the whole virtual fest, which am I remembering this correctly or wrong? Were you in two Salem Horror Fest? Were you in the virtual fest and then you were in? Or am I thinking that completely wrong? Because my memory, I'm like, I know I've seen the movie multiple times, so I'm like, I could have sworn I was in two Salem Horror Fests, but I think my mind is tricking me.
I wonder if Kay did like a hybrid thing. I think she did, right?
Yeah, I'm not certain. I as far as Massachusetts, I know it played Salem Horror. It also played at the Coolidge Corner in Boston
Yeah.
for a while. And I think was Salem had a digital component at that
They
point?
had it during COVID. It was digital, and then last year it was like it was first like in person, and then they did a digital one. So I wonder
I'm
if
sure.
that's what's messing me up.
I think that's what happened. So we
Yeah.
attended in person and did a Q&A and all that stuff. And then I think it was also on the digital
Yeah, so
side.
that's what's messing me up. Okay, I'm glad that I'm getting that sorted out because I was thinking about it for like the
Yeah.
last week. I was like, why do I feel like I'm going insane thinking about this? So it's good to know
So
that.
many of the festivals that we did this past year were it was like in person and they had that hybrid component of being online as well. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
which was shocking because we were able to attend, quite a few festivals. We really wanted to. We were just like, COVID's over, and we were just like, ah, JK.
yeah,
But we wanted to go see the film in so many places and be there to like represent, and then not realizing that they also had an online component. So people would message us and they'd be like, "We loved your film." We're like, Where'd you see it?" And
yeah.
we'd be like, "Oh yeah, they're doing the hybrid thing."
But it
So
also made it easier for us to see everybody's movies at the festivals too, which
true.
was very cool. Because I mean, we're like running around trying to shake all the hands and kiss all the babies while also really just wanting to see movies. So it was
Yeah.
very cool that we got to also do the hybrid thing and catch it on our own time while there. There's so many good movies this past year at the festivals.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I consider Alone with You an indie film. Would you consider it also an indie film?
It's
It's
exceptionally
the
Yes,
definition of
yes.
indie film.
Because like the indie circuit, just everywhere within the past like 2 or 3 years, has just been blowing up.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're all in festivals. They're all going to streaming services, which we can announce right now, if you'd like, that Alone with You is going to be on Shutter.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Yeah.
coming
Alone
August
with You.
16th.
August 16th.
Yeah,
Tune in. Come be alone with us.
yeah, yeah.
yes.
I think it's actually interesting right now because I think both because of the quarantining and pandemic and all that stuff, and just how the hit that COVID gave the film industry. Like, indies have always had to deal with roadblocks, so COVID was just kind of another day, to
Exactly.
the indie filmmakers. So it was interesting when Hollywood slowed down, like the indie filmmakers got out there and did their work, because that's what we know how to work in adverse, environments. And that's why I see a lot of these kind of independent films coming forward now, because they were all working when nobody could, and so you see a lot of the indie community coming forward with their films this past year.
And don't get me wrong, we did have brilliant Hollywood producers attached, but the boots on the ground story was a bit different. So we work with our producers, Theo James, the actor who starred in Divergent. He'll be in the new season of White Lotus. He's wonderful. One of our producers, and the other producer is Andrew Corkin, who produced Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
We Are What We Are.
We Are What We Are.
Mercy.
And Mercy, just so many films. And they both were on another film that we had written together called Kept. That film is still in process, but it's a much bigger film. Like, it's a bigger cast. I'm not the lead in that one. And we were gonna go ahead with that. And then of course, COVID, like so many filmmakers, it's just like, COVID. But and we sat down, we shot 2 short films. We're partners, in life, we're engaged.
And congrats, by the way, congrats.
Thank you very much. But luckily we were living together during the pandemic. So we shot a couple short films, which have gone on to Alter. You can see them, Pains and Bed, respectively, we directed. And then we hit up Andrew and Theo, and we were like, look, we can't do Kept right now, but we can do this idea. And so, they fully supported us. And it's, again, the definition of an indie film, but just with a brilliant crew that we never really got to see in person, but
post crew.
Yeah.
There was nobody else on set except the 2 of us.
That's nuts. And that's what I was hearing a lot with other filmmakers I was talking to during the pandemic. It's like, it was only like 2 or 3 people on set, but we made this awesome film. And you can really feel just how close this film is, because it's all in like one location. Mm-hmm. It's very tense, very big sense of dread throughout the whole movie, which I really, really like. Also it's pretty depressing because, Alone with You, just in the title itself, like you're there with yourself the whole time, and it's definitely a movie that I was being drawn to, especially during Salem Horror Fest, because there was a lot of films, to pick through and be like, okay, which one do I really, really, vibe with the most? And I would definitely say Alone with You was one, just because of how different and impactful it was. And I mean, you have freaking Barbara Crampton in it. Like, that's just nuts, just on itself. I mean, she's not there in person, but like, her in the film, regardless, is also a very big feat for, I'm sure, the both of you to have someone of that kind of stature in the horror world.
Super exciting. Yeah. Barbara is
incredible.
She's great to work with. She's just such a wonderfully kind, giving actor and friend. She, it's funny because we didn't even get to meet her in person until well after the film had been shot and it through post. We actually saw her right before our premiere at Fantastic Fest that year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we got to have just dinner and drinks and whatnot. And she is just as cool as she is on screen. She's a fantastic woman, an amazing actor. Like, that will not be the last time we work with Barbara Crampton, for sure.
Oh, I'm excited.
It was just such a, I mean, as horror fans, like watching films like From Beyond and Reanimator and just Barbara was just so cool to get. And it all came down to the script. Like, we we couldn't possibly think that we were going to get anybody really of note. We thought, okay, we're going to band together some buddies and make this thing. And then when our amazing
our casting director,
David got a hold of us and asked if we wanted Barbara Crampton. We're like, yeah.
Like, what kind of question is that?
Like, that's never gonna happen. Well, we were also just like, I mean, sure, she's never gonna take this.
Yeah, she's never gonna do it. Like,
but she honestly, she signed on based on what her words, the strength of the writing in that first scene with the mom and Charlie, and it's because she said it's because we don't. They're both people. There's no villain there. They're just personalities. They're real people talking to each other with deep wounds and deep, traumas on both sides, clearly, but they're people, they're not cutouts. And she was really interested in that dynamic and really getting into work. And I have to say, not only as a co-director, like directing her was a joy for both of us. As an actor, man, like she shows up, like she's so generous. It's so fun. They say that when you play tennis with someone who's better than you, you get better. And as an actor, it's the same thing. And playing tennis with Barbara in that scene, I was like, oh, I'm getting better because I'm working with this wonderful woman. So we love you, Barbara.
Yeah, that's awesome. And she's been talking about roles that she's been taking on in her life now, because she's never had the roles that she really wanted to do. And now that she's actually able to pick through certain things and really do things that she wants, so for her to pick your film, for her to be like, this is a role I've been wanting to do, that is awesome. So congrats on both of you.
Thank you.
Getting her was just so wonderful, because she's an actor that she carries with her such cloud of like the amazing horror that she's been a part of. But it's funny working in this business. I've worked with, names in horror, but there's a lot of them out there that like just take the gig, and you see like tons of movies that you'll never see in the light of day that this person has done, But when it came to Barbara, I noticed like she barely takes a project. Like she's very, very focused when she takes a project on. And that was what was even more kind of just wonderful to see. And in knowing that she takes a project because she cares about the project. She wants to do it. She wants to be a part of it. It's more than filler for her. She's a fantastic actor. She's a kind person. She's a really thoughtful actor, which is why, when she chose us, it was all the more special for sure.
And that's absolutely awesome. So I'm really curious to see what you got in the works for her to play in next. One other thing I really like to do with people that we have coming on is like I always like to know, like, where did it all start? And I guess we can start with you, Justin. Where did it all start for filmmaking? Was it something that you've always wanted to do growing up, or did it kind of come later in life?
It kind of both. It's funny. It's so I grew up loving horror. I have a father who would go to horror conventions in the 80s. Like my dad was a big fan of genre. He brought that into my life when I was very young. Like, I mean, I was watching, Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a little kid. I was the one like bringing Evil Dead over to my friend's house and getting sent home because they're not allowed to watch rated R movies.
That's awesome.
So it's always been a huge part of my life, but I come from a very rural part of New York, and it was never really presented like you can do this as a job. Like movies were magic, so it was never put in my head like, you can go do that. Even though everything I did growing up had to do with horror movies. Even to the point where, so I am also a musician. I spent my 20s touring in punk bands, and my first my first band that I ever toured with was a horror punk band that we wrote songs about the horror movies that I loved.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, and so it was always wrapped in it. And it wasn't until after kind of walking away from music that I really, really allowed myself to dive into being involved in making film and starting down that path. And that's where it really started to open up for me. I started writing and shooting my own projects and getting involved with that professionally.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's always been a part of my life, really.
What about you, Emily? What did all start with you?
Uh, let's see. I would say, I mean, I ran around with my dad's camcorder when I was like 6, 7. Like I started bossing all of my neighbors around and like making little movies based on Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. Like I
Oh,
was doing that from
nice.
jump. So that was my entry. I'm from the South. So I'm from the Bible Belt, Charleston, South Carolina. Was not really allowed to grow up on the fare that Justin was. My parents were very like not cool, but if it was Nickelodeon, that was fine. So I like held on to that and I was just like, but I love the creepiness. And so honestly, later in life, I like in high school, I discovered my love for acting, auditioned for a boarding school, got into the arts boarding school, and then I auditioned for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London and got in. And they, you know, take one American a year, which is crazy. And I got there and lived there and trained with some of, you know, some amazing. Alan Rickman was like a mentor of mine when I was in school, and I had to talk like this when I was in school, so I had to completely change my accent.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so I actually signed with an agent over there, and they were just like they were surprised that I was American. Um, and I was just like, oh, I got to figure this visa thing out. And I was just like, nah, I'll just go to New York. And you know, it's the after the best schooling, the struggle is still the same. I was like, please give me work, and I just started auditioning. I wanted to be in theater so bad. You can't pay your bills unless you're on Broadway. And I was like, okay, film. So I actually found film like later and started getting jobs on TV shows, bit parts here and there, indie films here and there. And I got really tired of auditioning for scripts that I was like, these aren't even that good. And I was like, but I really want this job. And so I just started writing. You know, I just started, I felt like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was like, how dare I? I'm just an actor. Like, I'm just supposed to shut up and like say the lines that are written for me. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna write, and that was a slow process, kind of allowing myself to take the reins. And then years later, yeah, I'm happy to say I'm mostly now a writer director, and I love working with actors. And from our backgrounds, we're so different. In Justin can do anything on set technically. Like he is a brilliant cinematographer. He can run sound. He can do VFX. He can do SFX. He can do anything. I can't do that. Like I help where I can, and I've learned so much from this man. But I come from the acting side, and I can talk to actors. I know different methodologies, and so you know, like Captain Planet, with our powers combined,
Yeah.
make
Dynamic
a pretty
duo.
good. Yeah, we're a dynamic duo. So anyway, that's me.
It is
Awesome.
funny. We've been noticing, like, we've just been kind of talking about, random stuff in our 20s and just how
Yeah, how different
we
our
uh, we
lives
we
have
grew
been.
up very differently. Like I said, I mean, she
Pretty different.
toured Shakespeare and I toured basement fucking punk rock. You know, like it was there's a lot of really funny, weird stories that do not match with
He'd be like,
us.
"Yeah, this punk rock show, my buddy set this guy on fire. Like he didn't mean to." And I was just like, "Oh, that reminds me of like a pyro effect that we had in Bram Stoker's Dracula at the Actors Theater of Louisville." Like we could not be more different, but
It works.
it does work.
That's awesome. And to know that you guys are doing films together and, putting all your love together in all these films is awesome. Is there anything in the works right now that you want to talk about?
There's always stuff in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like this industry and this just being able to do this, it's like if you don't have 20 things happening, like because one of them's going to work, you know, and it's always kind of trying to gather your pieces, your puzzle pieces together. So
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a few things.
Yeah, we have our solo projects. I mean, I write, like my hands are gonna fall off sometimes. I write almost too much. I'm currently I was hired to write a feature film for the wonderful Filipina filmmaker Ray Red. So I'm writing a feature for her and her production team right now, kind of collaborating with them. But I've got other solo projects. Justin has other solo projects, but together, like I said, we have the film Kept, and then we've also just started outlining. Well, not just started, but we're pretty deep into outlining our next
Feature, yeah.
kind of grassroots feature that will be shot here in the house that we're in upstate, and it's really beautiful and really nasty.
I like it.
A lot more blood flowing with you.
Yeah. I guess no spoilers, but a lot more blood.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So since you know, Alone with You was shot during COVID and it was just the two of you in one location, what was it like filming in that one location? Was there days where you just didn't want to do anything because you were tired of looking at the place? Or was it all, you know, flowing very nicely? I think it's probably going to be the first one, but hey, who knows?
I mean, honestly, like I had just moved in there, and Justin had so much horror paraphernalia and like where when we decided to
just
shoot.
So for anybody that doesn't know, we shot the film in our apartment. So that is, we lived in the place. Yeah.
Yeah, but we had to completely like basically cast the apartment because he had a massive Predator statue, a pumpkin head statue, Evil Dead posters everywhere, much like your backdrop. Like that was our wall. Like walls in that apartment. So we had to completely strip all of that and say, okay, well, Simone and Charlie live here. What is that world? So we had to it felt like we were living in someone else's apartment.
It was weird. Yeah, because my apartment is there's pieces of me in that, but I mean, that is largely an apartment built for Charlie and Simone, and so it did feel like we were in someone else's space for a long time. As far as how easy everything went, I mean, making a bad movie isn't easy, you know. So like trying to make a good one is pretty rough. It's I can tell you that there were many days in there where Emily didn't have to work all that hard to get to the headspace that Charlie was in in the film. I mean, it was a lot of it was tough. I can tell you at the beginning, our first day, we even kind of set ourselves up relatively easily. We were like, let's do just a simple scene. It's a simpler scene in the film, and everything went wrong. Nothing.
Oh no.
The end of the day, we're literally sitting like almost in tears being like, we fucked up. We shouldn't do this. This is going to be terrible. Everything is wrong. Nothing, you know. And you slowly come back from that and you start getting a rhythm and you know, there was definitely points in there where we really felt that rhythm. We were getting it, and we were, you know, landing what we needed. And there were other days that the whole world was working against us. But
I mean, but at the end of the day, after the initial shock of experiencing the reality of you are funded, you're working with professional producers, you have Barbara Crampton signed on, you have actual talent signed on, you have to do this thing.
Yeah.
Once the rubber hit the road and we were like, okay, we did find a rhythm. And I have to say, like, as an actor, it did feel a bit method, I guess. I feel like that term is misused sometimes, but you know, I certainly was living in Charlie's, where Charlie lived, And we tried to shoot chronologically, and honestly, that helped. And oddly, the deeper Charlie gets into her situation and experiences and desperation, that weirdly, in an odd way, became easier because I just let go. I stopped. You can only hold on so tight, and we were doing everything together. I was helping like hang lights before putting on my hair and makeup and getting into wardrobe and then stepping in front of camera. And at the end of the day, it all felt, I don't know. I don't know if I became Charlie for 2 months because we shot this for about 2 months, but
I was gonna ask that. So cool. 2 months.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So we did this like with like 2 days off that whole time for about 2 months. So what we lacked in people and crew and money, like Hollywood money, we had in time. So we took our time, and Justin was able to compose beautiful shots, like the steady cam shots, and really the more difficult shots took longer, and so we just gave those shots the time that they needed. But yeah, I living as Charlie for about 2 months was I don't know if I recommend that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we did have is, like she said, we had time. I mean, we
Yeah.
did not have crew. This is looking at the crew.
Yep.
We are the only two people that were ever on set, with the exception of my father came down to make sure we ate more than frozen pizza for a couple of days.
There you
We
go.
Yeah, he cooked for us, thank God.
Yeah, and then but we were shooting the entire film. We were lighting the entire film.
Hanging a boom pole from
Literally,
the ceiling, from
yeah.
a rake pole, from anywhere and most of the audio is on set audio, which is
Yeah, amazing.
still
I can't
amazes
even believe-
me.
But the thing is, I knew at the beginning, if we were going to be forced into this quarantine, if we were going to be told we can't do anything, go anywhere, whatnot, then we knew we had this time, and that's all that money makes smaller, right? So like, so if you have money, you buy a crew, you pay a crew to make sure things happen quicker, and you roll a film out in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We knew we couldn't do that timetable, but if we add the 2 months, then that crew of 5 or 6 or 7 people could be a crew of 2, moving slower, moving steadier, but still we're not, it was important to us that this had at least as much of the polish of a I guess what we'd call a Hollywood feature film or whatnot.
Yeah.
Given the time that we had, because the visual storytelling in this particular story was just as important to us as what was written on the page. Like, we were telling our story through these images, and that was very important. Everything had to be very intentional. There's not a thing about this film that wasn't very, very intentionally and very thought about. Like, it's a very that's a nice thing, is we were able to be very thoughtful with what we did in making the film. So there's a lot of layers in that storytelling.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this movie is very polished for it being only like 2 months and just the two of you really doing that. The lighting is beautiful, the shots are beautiful, even like the darker parts that are in it, like everything is so beautifully lit. In an apartment, you guys nailed it. Nailed it. It's such a gorgeous film, even though it's a very raw film to watch, and it can be a little difficult at times. But I mean, that's kind of the point. And also, dealing with it when you were during the pandemic. I know, especially seeing it at Salem Horror Fest, and then like everybody else is kind of connecting. But like, yeah, you know what? I really do feel alone, and I'm with myself, and like I'm isolated in this one spot. And this film really does highlight that, and like the most craziest situations, and really getting there in your head and stuff. And yeah, this film is beautiful for how sad it is. So really good job on both of you and everybody else that worked on this crew, because it's definitely a masterpiece. I would say that.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Well, and I just have to say I can't take any credit for the lighting. I helped hang the lights, but I learn from Justin constantly. We would storyboard and we would talk through shots, obviously as co-directors, but the artistry that Justin has, just carving light around a body, around a mannequin. Like some of those shots of just mannequins just took my breath
Oh,
away.
it's so good and so creepy. It's so good. That's the scene I was just thinking about in my head too. I'm just like, wow, that scene is nuts. So I actually kind of wanted to ask you, do either of you have a favorite scene in this that like you either really liked to shoot, or watching it like back that like really stuck out to you?
I don't have I don't have a favorite scene, I don't think. I mean, I really love what Emily does towards the end of the film when she's like all fired up and like really going mad. I love that stuff. But I mean, I have a favorite shot, but it's like I have a favorite shot simply because so much of film is it's jazz, you've got to really kind of be able to maneuver around film is a living being. It's constantly changing and it's pushing you in different directions, and you have what you intend, and then there is what happens. I think one of the biggest stories in that is Jaws, right? There's the movie Jaws was supposed to be, and then there's the movie we got because nothing worked.
Yeah.
Luckily, that usually breeds tons of ingenuity and artistry, and that's why Jaws is what it is. For me, though, I had one shot that actually was exactly as I had planned it. It was lit exactly the way it was supposed to look. It worked the exact way it was supposed to. It was just this wonderful kismet of it. It was a thing that I set up, and I was like, my intention came through. The funny thing is, it is a shot that no one will ever notice because it's so simple. But for me, every time I see it, I was like, yes, I fucking nailed that one. It was. But
awesome.
How about you? What's your favorite?
Well, you didn't tell him what shot it was.
I can't. No, that's the fun.
He wants us to guess. You know what? That's good because it's gonna make me want to go watch this movie after. So.
True. They're gonna be like, "Is this shot?" That's so funny. Shots.
Scene. What's your favorite scene?
Oh, favorite scene. Sorry. Oh yeah, you said shot. Favorite scene. Honestly, I'm just, though this apartment, this film takes place in an apartment, for the most part, honestly, the beach scenes just take my breath away, partially because not only how it was shot and the composition that, we had worked on these stark frames and the gliding dread towards Charlie on the beach as the water laps her feet. It goes from such a calm place, safe haven, this place of romance at the very beginning of the film, to a place of absolute dread. I love, honestly, the quiet shots just creeping towards Charlie on that beach, and partially just because we got so lucky that every time we shot there, and we shot on that beach for about six mornings to get there.
Oh, wow.
Early enough and to keep things consistent. Weirdly, every morning we had the same fog, the same
That's
mist
awesome.
that like blurred the horizon of the water and the sky, and it just seemed to be just so metaphorical of like the blurred lines of this film and Charlie's psyche and what is happening and what is, I don't know, there's just something so beautiful about, and I take myself out of this, but the composition of a shot of Charlie looking away and the sky and the water and not really being able to tell where they separate. There's something just really haunting about that. And
I agree.
I mean, there's a reason why that's our
yeah,
first shot. You know,
100%. And
it says so much in that.
yeah, and it's just a throwback to like our favorite like 70s horror where something just isn't quite right. You know, it's not
Yeah.
blood and guts, but it's beauty twisted, and you don't know why you don't feel good about it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Yeah, a blank horizon is terrifying. I mean,
yeah,
that is the fog, that is the mist, that is the, you know, that like,
yeah.
yeah. I actually,
So
I
yeah,
think
that's my favorite.
I
thing.
have my favorite scene now.
Okay,
The scene with you talking to the woman in the wall.
Oh,
And
yes,
uh,
yes.
she's mimicking you the entire way
Oh
through.
yeah.
I love every time I see that. I love your performance and love in that. I love
Oh,
Ward's editing with
Yeah.
that. It was so perfectly edited. And
Yeah,
the
Ward did a
sound
great
design,
job.
like everything, like it all just came together to a really great. I love that moment. Plus,
Yeah.
it's a
Oh.
bit of an homage to my favorite film. So it's I love it. Yeah.
That is a really creepy scene too, and for you, Emily, it must have been really weird seeing you kind of lose your mind throughout this whole film, and then realizing like, hey, I actually live here. So am I actually losing my mind? you know?
Yeah, again, you know, again, talk about
Art
the
imitates
horizon
life.
and the sea, the blurred lines of, I was like, am I losing my mind? I might
Yeah.
be. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, though, you know, I've been an actor for most of my life now, and I'm pretty in touch with where I am, with my capabilities as a performer. I know when to cast me. I know when to not cast me. I'm pretty objective about, you know, I have a set of tools. You know,
Yeah.
I try to get them, and I know I can show up and do my job. Um, this was a different experience though, because I mean, it was just so immersive, and it took so long that there is no trailer to go back to. There's no like, you know, call your mom at your lunch break and like chill, and then you get the weekend off. We didn't have a weekend. It was,
Yeah.
I had to let go and just say there really is no recovering from each day. There is just the next day.
Yeah.
That is the one thing.
And I think that helped, honestly.
Yeah, it was. I think
Ultimately.
it was a help, but it was also the one thing that's so. And I mean, this just kind of speaks to what a talented actor Emily is. But she was constantly. I mean, when we say we both directed this, it's very like this is a 50-50 throughout the entire process. We both wrote it. We both set up the shots. We both did the direction. So before Emily got in front of that camera and performed, she was behind, like working in a very practical mode. Like we're gonna, like, yeah, let's do this. Let's move here. The camera's gonna back up, you know. And then she'd have to get in front of the camera, and boom, like horrifying, you know, crying, you know, screaming, like, and that without like it's funny people joke about actors needing their trailers and whatnot, but I mean there's something to go to those places. It's important to be able to step away from the rest of the world for a moment, and that's something that we couldn't give Emily. She had to be present at all times, which just goes to show, like, I mean, it amazed me every time it happened to see the performance that we got while she was 2 seconds ago talking to me about the gels on the light, you know. Information is so fun, and so it's like every time you're directing, like, you know, if a performance is giving you goosebumps behind the camera, then it's working, you know.
Yeah. This movie does work. It works on a lot of levels, and that's why I'm so happy that it's going to Shudder for more people to watch it. I mean, you can rent it right now on VOD, which is what I did. Actually, can you outright buy it on
Yeah,
on
you can buy
services
it
too?
on Amazon and iTunes and all
Amazon,
that good stuff.
iTunes, and DVDs are now out. You can get a DVD on Amazon that comes
Oh, yeah.
with some special BTS interviews with Barbara Crampton, walking through the apartment with us while our power went out one day. You
Oh,
get,
that's perfect.
and you, and by the way, you get outtakes from Dora Madison, who is one of the funniest people I have ever we have ever worked with. She has some like bloopers in there that are
Pretty hilarious.
make the DVD worth it, in my opinion.
I'm gonna be picking that up because I think I did buy it off Amazon digitally, so I gotta get a physical one. And obviously, I'll be watching it on Shudder a million times and putting reviews on it just to boost your plays on there.
Oh,
So,
We appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, it's really exciting. I'm really happy for the both of you to get something that took a lot of out of you for 2 months during a really hard time, and it going to all these services and stuff. So, congrats! Like that's
you.
awesome.
That means the world. Thank you.
Thank you for being such support. Again, this is not a Hollywood film. This is indie film. You are looking at the most of the cast and the crew of this film. So just thank you, and thank you for helping us get the word out.
That's the thing. It's been so cool. Like, just so many awesome people like sharing, the things that they saw. And like the great thing is like the film has also brought so many different interpretations. Like people have been like telling us what our movie is about, and that I love that. I love
that's
that
awesome.
they're able to involve themselves with the film so heavily, because that was such an intentional thing. Like we wanted people to be there with us and to kind of pull what they saw, see the movie that they wanted to see. And we've gotten to meet so many rad people talking about horror and stories and what they dig. And it's just been, I mean, the horror community is like, that's what I was born into. So to be so welcome, to have this film so welcome with open arms, like, I mean, Shudder is exactly where I want this movie.
That's
I
where
want
it belongs.
to be watching this movie. This was made for them, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, and again, August 16th.
Yeah.
Yes. I have one last question to ask both of you. I always like to find out what our guest's favorite horror movie is. Emily, we can start with you. Do you have one horror movie out of all the ones that you've seen that you like the most?
I mean, it changes.
Same, honestly.
Man, that's so mean. Mean question to a horror fan. Okay, you're asking me today. Oh my God. Right now, okay, today I would say Hellraiser.
Oh wow! I don't know. For some reason, you don't really, come off as a Hellraiser super fan.
Dude, I am way darker than anybody gives me credit for. I was an actor, so I wasn't allowed to tattoo I'm tattooed on the inside. Just Hellraiser. I mean, the sex mixed with the pain. I mean, Clive Barker. I love Clive Barker. I know you do too. I said it, and it's true. I love Hellraiser. And Hellraiser 2.
All right.
So I won't say Hellraiser because that's exactly what I would have said.
Yours changes too, though.
It does, but I mean, there's one movie that I like.
Well, what's yours today?
I mean, my house has how many lament configurations in there? It's like
nothing wrong with that.
Our house. What would I say then? Outside of Hellraiser, because Clive Barker is the king.
You can say Hellraiser. Go ahead, say Hellraiser. Just do it.
His Hellraiser's out there. It's on the table. I would go with my other kind of go-to. I love Alien. Alien is like, I am such a fan of good sci-fi horror. So Alien's a big one for sure.
Oh, that's actually really funny too, because like Alien's an isolation movie. Alone with You is an isolation movie. So there you go. You kind of doing homages to it. So that's awesome.
And Hellraiser is a twisted love story.
Yes, that also takes place in a house.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't really
stay
move.
on
Yeah.
theme.
I mean, I do love Hellraiser. That's one of my absolute favorite films of all time. Clive
So
Barker
cool.
is an author that I grew up as a kid reading books of blood and all of Clive Barker's works, and it was just always so good.
Yeah.
Um,
Dustin, you have to answer that too. Then.
yeah,
That's a
what's
mean
yours?
question, so
Yeah.
you have to
All right.
give us your answer.
All right. I mean, mostly everybody knows at this point, but except for you two, I am a huge Halloween 1978 fan.
Oh,
I have a ton of Michael masks behind.
Nice.
Ah,
That's nice.
I kind of blocked them, so I got to like rearrange this room so everybody
Yeah,
can see
we
my
gotta see
masks.
that good stuff.
he's watching
Yeah.
you.
He always is. I have the Wolfman watching me.
Nice.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm a huge Halloween fan. I mean, I'm really excited for Halloween Ends. Mixed feelings on Halloween Kills, but I mean, I kind of turned that around after talking to a few people. I like Halloween
Okay.
Kills a lot more than I did initially. So, sort of
Alright.
high hopes for Halloween Ends, but yeah,
Yeah.
78 is my go-to.
Of the other the first new rendition of Halloween.
Yeah, it was good. I always go back to 78. I've tried giving Rob Zombie's Halloween a try. It was kind of all right. I like the first one more than the second one, but I don't know. I never ever get bored of any of the Halloweens. I can go and watch any of them. I can watch 2018 over and over again. What's that?
H2O.
H2O? Oh, for sure. That's actually the next mask I'm getting. I'm going to be buying that one. I still got to get all the Michael masks. But, yeah, I don't know. 78, it's just has a vibe to it that's so different. And, like, I never get tired of it. I can watch it any time of the year. And I'll still get goosebumps from it. It's such a great film.
I love,
Nice.
I mean, that's John Carpenter's, an amazing filmmaker. I actually got to work with Tony Moran.
Oh, okay.
I shot a film with him years and years ago. Before I picked up a camera, I used to do special effects and makeup. And I shot a film with him called Beg ages ago. And he was a great guy. And of course, I immediately had to sit down around a campfire and hear all the stories from the set of Halloween. It was very cool.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. I think that's pretty much all I have for questions. Is there anything you guys want to ask me? Sometimes our guests have some crazy questions that they like to throw at me. Then I'm just like, I don't know.
I mean, we got your favorite horror film. If you could see any horror film remade,
I don't like that
what
question.
would you choose, and who would you have direct?
Oh my god. So like this is the thing with remakes, like I like them but I hate them, if you know what I mean. Like there are definitely really good remakes out there. Like I would say probably Friday the 13th remake was kind of okay.
Yeah.
There was another one that I really like, but I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But if I were to pick one to see remade, oh my god, I'm gonna say this one just because it's kind of a running joke on my show. Is I reviewed The Mutilator with my co-host Aaron a couple weeks back, and oh my god, it was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It was so bad. So I think I would probably have to say that one. And if I were to have someone remake it, it would probably be James Wan, just because he's just a crazy, crazy director with a crazy mind. After seeing *Malignant*, like that guy's got a very, very unique mind. So, The Mutilator, make it good.
Yeah,
James Wan.
Sure. Well, it's James Wan, so it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's definitely that's my answer.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have one?
What would I like? See, there's a few remakes I dig. I mean, I really liked what they did with the Texas Chainsaw remake.
Oh, that's the one I wanted to bring up too. Yes.
The first one I thought was very
that,
cool. Yeah, I thought they did. But that guy, I can never remember his name. The director of that film, came out of music videos, and he also he directed. If you're a horror fan, even if you don't like this band, and you don't have to, but Bush in the 90s had a song called Greedy Fly. And it was directed by the guy that would go on to direct Texas Chainsaw. That is a horror film, like of a music video. It's so cool. It's like really creepy, beautifully lit, like really great cinematography. Like that is like the band or not, that video is so rad. But as far video. As like what would I like to see remade, and by who?
Tough one, I know.
I mean, I think I have mine.
Yeah, what would you say?
I would want the Sentinel remade.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good call.
Because the Sentinel is great, and I was actually just shooting another film like right in front of that building, and I was like, guys, it's the Sentinel, and the crew was
awesome.
like, what are you talking about? And I was just like, come on. But I love the Sentinel. Justin actually introduced me to the Sentinel. You know, being like New Yorkers, I love a good New York horror, and I would honestly have. See, it's the director that's the difficult part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would see what, like, I don't know. I would go off kilter with it. Like, see what Karen Kasama would do.
Interesting.
Because I think she gets social dynamics so well, and the building and the relationships between the tenants. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could. She pulls out like lovely, I don't know, she gives like a Rosemary's Baby feel to The Invitation. I think she could like really have some cool dynamics going, and like her husband and his writing partner, I think they would do the script very well. So that's my pitch for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree on that.
I think it's funny because I was thinking about this movie recently. I would like to see Leviathan remake.
Oh wow.
Because I think, not because the movies needs remaking, because I love Leviathan, and I think I want to say Stan Winston Studios did the creature in that, and it's like the coolest fucking thing out there. But I think current technology could make Leviathan a badass film. Like I would love to see that movie made.
Who direct?
I would definitely want to direct that one.
Okay, so you'd be the director. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
But who else? Who else would I have direct that? Leviathan. It's
Guillermo.
I would see. My worry is that Guillermo would not make it like a hard R horror film. And I love Guillermo del Toro, but everything has such a. I think that's the fun of him. Everything has such a heart, with the exception of like, I guess, Mimic and like Blade 2. But no, I would give it to that's a good question.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, like
I know, right? Cliffhanger.
I know.
I'm trying to think too.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. You know what? Actually, what's his name? Is it Todd Phillips who did Joker? Todd Phillips?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think he'd do a good job of that.
That's
I think he's got a really interesting, I think he knows how to find a tone. And I think like those underwater horror, like it's like Alien. It requires a tone. It really requires like, you need to smell and taste your environment. And like Joker stinks like
yeah.
You know, it's just so I'd love to see Todd Phillips do Leviathan. I think that'd be cool. If
that'd be awesome.
I wasn't available to direct it.
Hey, co-direct. There you go. Get both of you on that project. Well, this was awesome. I mean, thank both of you for taking some time out to come and talk about Alone with You, and all the backgrounds and stuff. I love just trying to get into the minds of everybody who makes these projects, and especially the ones that I saw at Salem Horror Fest. I've been trying to track all of them down and get them on here, because they're all brilliant, and I want to see more. I want to see kept. So once that's done, like, sign me
So
up.
do I.
We'll be
Real
in
bad.
touch, man.
Yeah,
We're
I
working
mean,
on it.
Kay, I have to give big shout out to Kay. She puts on a good festival. Like she
Yeah,
curates
we love you,
a
Kay.
really cool festival. So
Yep.
big shout out to Salem. Like she's a hardworking woman.
Yeah, she is. We had her on actually right before our holiday break, and we were talking about that and everything, and then she dropped that it's going to be huge next year. It's going to be in April for a full week, which is completely different because usually it's 2 weekends, so it's going to be even bigger. So I'm so excited, and you both should definitely come and just relax. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So thank you. I mean, really, this was a pleasure. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Justin, for taking the time out to do this. And August 16th, watch Alone with You on Shudder a million times over, and rent it or buy it or do both or all three, because that's what I'm going to be doing. So this was really an honor to talk to both of you. So thank you so much for being here.
So much. Thanks for having us.
Oh,
man.
thanks for having us, man.
Yep. And any other time that either of you want to come on, I always extend a little branch. If you want to come on and talk about a horror movie, we will do it, and I can send you a list of everything we're doing this year. Or if you want to come on and talk about a different project that you're doing and promote it, hey, I'm all down. So
I'll talk car movies constantly. So
all right, I will make sure to send the document to Emily or to you or wherever, or both of you, and then we can discuss that further and get you back on the show and talk some horror.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and before we go, I have to screenshot this.
Looks like I'm just frozen.
Wait,
That was
I have
awesome.
I'm wearing a friend's t-shirt, and I want to
I don't know how you do that.
I'm wearing the
Yeah.
Halloween, so I mean, there you go.
command 3.
Jesus.
I'm trying to help a friend.
All right. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Thank
There
you.
you
A friend of mine made the t-shirt, so I figured I would.
No problem. I'll be posting 1 2 with the whole background and stuff they have for the show, so I'll be posting that right after this. But yeah, thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting us, man.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be talking again soon. So thank you, and we will be talking to the rest of our listeners later this week. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you later.